Hello people, I'm the Real Comic Book Gamer, and to kick off Superman week, I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite Superman villains of all time, because a lot of people don't know that he has a lot of cool villains. Most people just think, oh, the best rogues galleries are Batman, Flash, Spider-Man. No one really thinks of Superman, but in actuality, he does have a lot of great, really cool villains. So today I'm going to be counting them down. Anyways, let's get into it. At number 10, I have Metallo, who is the cyborg with a kryptonite heart that goes after Superman. He's not generally a big play villain. He's generally just used as like a 1 or 2 issue story type of character, or he's used by other villains. He's not really a mastermind, a guy that's going to lead a whole like 5-6 issue story arc. He's really just there for a bit. I think he was most effectively used to me in Secret Origin and in Superman Batman Public Enemies. I liked how he was used in the beginning of Superman Batman Public Enemies, where in that, which is a story that I absolutely love. But anyways, in that it showed that John Corbin, before he was Metallo, might have killed Bruce's parents. In that, it was pretty much heavily implied that yes, he did kill Bruce's parents. So that was an interesting story aspect to him and add something to his character. And then in Secret Origin, I like how they used him, how he is part of the military, and then he was in this like sort of task force to take down Superman, and his fight with Superman, that was great. And Gary Frank's art in that fight really brought it to life. And just, yeah, John Corbin, aka Metallo, is a really interesting character, and that's why he's on this list. At number 9, I have Mr. Pedelec. My favorite version of him was by far when he first showed up in John Byrne's run. It was great. He shows up in the Daily Planet offices as this like sort of big buff, like D-bag type dude, and he just takes Lois out on a date, and then he starts doing all this crazy other weird stuff, just a bunch of weird crap happening around him, and Clark is just like, what is going on with this guy? So then he shows up as Superman. He's like, hey, something's odd about you. What's going on? And then Mr. Pedelec shows up as his normal self, and he's like, hey, I'm this dude from the 5th dimension, and I'm here for a challenge because I got bored in my dimension, so I came over here, and you seem the most challenging, so I'm gonna play a game with you. Here's the game. You have to get me to write, spell, or say my name backwards. And with a name like Mr. Pedelec, it's so hard to say his name, Mixia Pedelec. It's just not easy for me to say his name, so Superman has to get him to write, spell, or say that backwards. So yeah, that's how Superman has to defeat him, which I thought was really interesting, because most superheroes, they have to just punch away their problems, and that's how it goes with most of their supervillains. But with him, it's a lot different. He's way different than anyone in anyone else's rogues gallery, which I really liked, and he's a lot more of a fresh villain, way different than anyone else. He's hard to really compare to anyone else until later when they came up with like Batmite and stuff like that. But for the time, he was very interesting, and there was no one else really like him, and I really like that. And he's been in some really cool Superman stories, and he's just a really interesting villain. Seeing someone that Superman has to defeat like that, again, it's someone that Superman can't just punch away. And it's a villain that's far more powerful than Superman. And also, in Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Alan Moore did something very interesting with the character, which I liked also. And yeah, he's just been in a lot of great Superman stories that I really liked, and he's a very interesting character. At number 8, I have Mongol. I just always thought the character of Mongol was really cool, and Warworld was super interesting, and the fact that there's just this gigantic sort of battle station type world where people fight and for the glory of Mongol, and also so many people have taken over it because Warworld is a very powerful thing. It's a very powerful weapon, like Brainiac has taken over it before. And yeah, just Mongol's really cool. I liked it when he showed up during Superman Exile, and he had Superman fight for him. He's like, oh, a Kryptonian, I'm gonna have him fight for him. And Superman fights Draga. So Justice League made an episode about this. It does not do the comic justice at all, but still, you guys may have seen the episode that they did on it. But anyways, Superman beats Draga, and then he won't kill Draga, because right up there is like, he's like Caesar. He gives the thumbs down saying, yeah, Mongol's like, yeah, you gotta kill Draga. You beat him, now it's time for him to kill. Now it's time for him to die. This is how it works. It's like the Roman Colosseum. Superman's like, nah, I'm not gonna kill for you, tyrant. My name is Superman. I won't kill. And then Mongol's like, okay. He goes down there and he beats Superman's ass. Like, he kicks his ass. But this is a Superman that was a little bit tired because he had just fought another dude and he had gone through a lot. This wasn't a full charged up Superman. So he beats Superman. He captures him and he's like, okay, I'm gonna have you watch me murder Draga. Superman breaks out of where he's captured, beats the crap out of Mongol because he's a lot more refreshed now, and then Mongol wakes up from being knocked out for a few seconds and zaps Superman. But when he does, like, Superman gets teleported, and so he gets out of there. But still, being pretty cool that Mongol was able to beat Superman, even though it wasn't a fully charged Superman. It's still, he was able to beat him. And also, he's had some other cool stories with Superman. Another Alan Moore story, which was What Do You Get for the Man Who Has Everything, which was really interesting, and having Mongol show up there was cool. And also, he had a cool story in the New 52 with Superman and Batman that I actually liked. And yeah, just Mongol is a really interesting Superman villain. He also died, and then his son kind of took his place and was basically the same as normal Mongol. There wasn't really much of a difference. It was just like, hey, Mongol's dead, but we still want Mongol around, and we're not going to bring him back, so we'll just have his son here. But yeah, he's a great Superman villain. At number 7, I have Doomsday. What I find particularly cool about Doomsday is the fact that most villains, like Bane and stuff, when they first show up, they're really badass, and then they just, every time they show up after that's no big deal, and it's not really that big, and the hero can defeat them easily. Doomsday, on the other hand, every single time he shows up, it is a big deal. When he first showed up in Death of Superman, he kills Superman. After that, he beats the crap out of Darkseid in another story. That you have Doomsday Wars also, where he beats the crap out of the Flash and Wonder Woman. And then you also have other stories, like Joker's Last Laugh, when Joker let him out, and he destroys Martian Manhunter. Every time this guy shows up, it is a huge deal, and he just wrecks people. And there's hardly anyone in the DC universe that's a big name that he hasn't just destroyed. Doomsday is a name to be reckoned with, and he's just so cool, just this unstoppable beast. And Death of Superman is one of my favorite Superman stories, and seeing Superman actually get killed while them kill each other was just really powerful. It made me so sad when I first saw it, and he's an amazing villain. At number 6, I have Sideward Superman, and one of the most deadly Superman villains. When him and Mongol went and destroyed Coast City, that was pretty impressive. Also, the fact that he was able to make Mongol just his servant, basically. He just destroyed Mongol, because Mongol was like, hey, you're my servant, you do what I say. And then Cyber Superman's like, nah, nope, understand this, you're under my heel, you obey me. He's also just taken on Supergirl, Eradicator, Superboy, and Steel at the same time. He's also killed Darkseid, who was Darkseid's sort of like weird witch wizard type dude. He's a very powerful, deadly Superman villain. He's got one of the, if not the most badass design of Superman's villains. I just think he looks really cool. It's, the normal Superman outfit, and then he's just all cyborged up, and with a great artist, he looks so badass. At number 5, I have Darkseid. Not much I need to say here. You guys know who Darkseid is. One of the most powerful villains in the DC universe. My favorite story with him and Superman was definitely Superman vs. Darkseid, Apocalypse Now. It was a great story. Superman's fighting for the soul of John Henry Irons, who was put into this weapon that Darkseid was using. They had this great fight, and Darkseid is generally more powerful than Superman, but this day, Superman's like, yeah, I'm not going to be really holding back that much. I'm just going to go, and he takes down Darkseid. Still a great fight. Superman didn't do it easily, but he is able to beat him, and it is an amazing fight. It's really cool. And Darkseid, yeah, again, there's not much I have to say about this, because you guys all know who Darkseid is and why he's on this list. He's awesome. His design is cool. His Omega beams are great. It's just Darkseid. At number 4, I have Manchester Black, who hasn't been around for too long compared to most Superman villains who have been around for like 60, 70 years, but he's still a great villain. He's really cool. He's this British dude that's got these mind and telekinetic powers, and when he first shows up during What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which is a single issue story, it's one of the best single issues, if not the best single issue story I've ever read. It's really good. It's amazing. If you haven't read it, it's a must read for all Superman fans, and for most comic book fans for that matter. Anyways, it's a great story. Basically, Manchester Black and his guys called the Elites show up, and they're sort of these new superheroes, except they're sort of just killing people. They're like, hey, why not be judge, jury, and executioner? And Superman shows up, and he's like, that's not exactly a good idea. We should we have the courts and everything for a reason. If someone we throw in jail gets on death row, then that's justice because it was decided by a judge and a jury. But if we're just killing these people on the streets, we're not really the people to judge them. That's not our job. We hand them over to the police, they go to a court, and then their fate is decided. And these guys are like, nah, we ain't about that. We're just gonna kill them because they'll just break out of jail again and kill more people, so we're just gonna murder them. So then you have all the people that are like, yeah, they're so much cooler than Superman. Superman's lame, and then stuff happens in the end that I don't really want to spoil because you should definitely read it, but it's a really interesting story. He's also got other great stories like Superman ending battle. That was awesome when he came in there. Again, something else I don't want to spoil. There's so much I want to talk about there, but I don't really want to spoil it because the part when he comes in Superman ending battle is great, and I did not see it coming, and it's definitely an underrated Superman story, Superman ending battle. He also just had a great story in Rebirth. I'd say not as good as the other two that I just mentioned, but it's still a pretty good Manchester Black story. And yeah, he's a really cool villain. Hasn't been around too long, but still has some really solid stories, and he's just a badass villain. At number 3, I have Brainiac, a classic Superman villain. I loved the way Jeff Johns brought him back during Superman Brainiac. I also love seeing him on New Krypton when New Krypton happened. New Krypton was a thing where basically Superman took Kandor, he put it on this sort of moon thing that was uninhabited, and then he just made them bigger. He found a way to resize them. So he resizes them, and so it's called New Krypton now. And then Brainiac comes back and he's like, hey, I'm gonna shrink you guys again. And he goes and he starts like murdering everyone on New Krypton, and it is awesome. He's destroying people. You see how afraid these planet of Kryptonians are when they're Kryptonians. You know, they're incredibly powerful, and they're like, oh god, it's Brainiac, no, run. They got like PTSD of the last time he shrinked them, and it's so cool seeing someone that can strike that much fear into these Kryptonians. This dude Brainiac, who's he just wants to learn about everything, but he also wants to kill you at the same time. And yeah, Brainiac is just awesome, and the fact that he sort of caused Superman's dad to die, it wasn't really, it was his fault, but at the same time it wasn't, because he sent a robot that sort of exploded near his father, near Jonathan Kent, and that caused him to have a heart attack. But if that easily caused him to have a heart attack, then a heart attack was waiting to happen. It was going to happen anytime. That was just what triggered it. So he triggered it sooner. So he is sort of behind Superman's father's death a bit, and so Superman is not a big fan of him for that and many other reasons, and he's just a great villain. At number 2, I have Zod, who is definitely one of the greatest Superman villains of all time. It's basically like, what if you gave an evil genius general Superman's powers? You'd get Zod, and he's just this guy that could go around and kick everyone's ass. I loved when he first showed up in the New 52 during Superman Wonder Woman, and he's like, oh no, I'm just this Kryptonian guy that's not bad at all, and then he just goes around and starts beating everyone up. He beats up Martian Manhunter, which is no small feat at all. I loved during his story in Superman Last Son of Krypton when Jeff Johns used him there, and you saw that Superman and Lois got this kid that was Kryptonian. They don't know how he sort of showed up there, but they adopted him. Then it turned out, hey, it's Zod's son. And yeah, Zod's just done a lot of stuff. Superman, he has an effect on Superman. He's very interesting during War of the Supermen, where he sort of was very manipulative. That was awesome. During the entirety of the New Krypton story arc, which was really long and great, where Superman was sort of working under Zod because Kara, who was Supergirl, her mother was the leader of New Krypton, and she was like, hey, we need a general, why not Zod? Superman's like, what, are you stupid? And she's like, no, we're gonna have Zod, nothing will go wrong. Zod ends up taking over New Krypton basically and has them attack Earth, and so it's this big battle between the New Kryptonians and all of Zod's forces versus all of Earth's heroes, and it's a really cool battle, and just Zod is awesome. The fact that he was able to do that and manipulate, because the whole time he's acting like, I'm different now, I'm not that bad of a guy, and then like, oh no, I tricked you, I was bad the whole time, and then he attacks Earth, and it's War of the Supermen, and it's awesome, and Zod is just great. At number 1, I have Lex Luthor, the smartest guy in the DC universe. I think it's really cool that Superman, his main rival, isn't some super powerful punchy dude that they go and they destroy buildings together. No, it's the guy with the smartest intellect in the DC universe. It's Lex Luthor, this guy that he has to defeat in other ways. He has to figure out other ways to defeat him. And it's this dude that hates Superman purely because he had it all. Lex Luthor worked his entire life to get where he was, to get to where he is king of Metropolis. He was actually a decent dude. He could have done some amazing stuff. He tells Lois all the time, like he told her how he would have cured cancer if it weren't for Clark and all this other great stuff he could have done. Like during Superman Red Son, we get to actually see him do that stuff because Superman's not in America. But anyways, so yeah, he hates Superman because he worked all his way up to the top to be king of Metropolis, to be his dude, and then Superman comes in as one day suddenly dethrones him. He hates him for that. He's also very much pro-Earth, anti-alien type dude, and he also becomes president later on, which is pretty cool, especially considering the fact everyone knew he was such a bad guy and he's a Superman villain, but he's still able to become president because he's that smart and he got people to vote for him and stuff. And just, yeah, I love Lex. He's great. He's my favorite comic villain of all time. Anyways, please let me know in the comments below who are your top 10 favorite Superman villains, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.